Hey, Yassine from Change Wealth here to talk to you today about what is stock in a company or what is a share of a company. These are terms that we hear thrown around pretty often. Maybe nobody's ever stopped and explained to you in sort of simple terms what we're actually talking about. It's not overly complicated, especially if we approach it by way of an analogy. So suppose we have an apple pie freshly baked. Who wouldn't want to think about that? If you take a portion of that pie, you would just say in sort of the general case that I have some pie, right? But if that pie was cut up into slices, individual servings, I just said the word, but the individual servings or the individual units of the pie are called slices, of course, right? In the context of a company, when we're not talking about a pie, but if we're talking about a company, let's say we were talking about Apple Inc. instead of Apple as a pie, then in the general case, if you own a portion of Apple the company, you would say that you have stock in Apple, right? So Apple has a whole bunch of owners, and anybody who owns any portion of the company has stock in Apple. That just means you actually are entitled to a share of the profits in proportion to how much stock you own. So any profits emerging in future would be paid to all of the owners or the people who hold stock in Apple. Now, the smallest individual units of stock in Apple the company are called shares, and it's those individual units that you see quoted, the price quoted on the stock market, right? So the actual value of a share, of course, will vary, widely depending on what company we're talking about. So some companies, their shares are pennies of stock kind of thing, and a company like Apple in particular has a stock price that's well over $100. So the actual value of a share will depend on sort of the value of the company and a whole bunch of other things. But when we're talking about stock or shares in a company, that's all we mean. We just mean a portion of the overall ownership of the company. Hope that's helpful, and we'll talk to you again next time. Thanks.